I meant to get my Bible because it's hard to record this and look at the Bible on my phone. I'm reminded that we are not in a war against flesh and blood. We are in a war against principalities and powers. In the West, there's not a cultural acceptance or awareness of principalities and powers. That doesn't change the fact that they exist. I mean, there was a time on the earth when there was a lack of awareness that the earth was round, or, a lack of awareness of electricity, wind, or specifically how wind works, maybe. It doesn't change the fact that it's there. There are principalities and powers at work. There is a battle that wages. Our weapons are not carnal. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. We overcome by His word, by His Spirit. And the word says, the same power that raised Christ from the dead lives in me, lives in you. It also says that we would do greater things than Jesus did. It also says, and I mean, if they recorded everything that He did, what does it say? That it would take up, I don't know how many books, more books than could be written. We have greater authority. We have greater authority. It's time for David's mighty men to wake up. The battle's not against flesh and blood. It's time to wake up. It's time to go to war. For ourselves, for our families, for our communities, for the cities that we live in, and the states, and the nation. The kingdom of God goes beyond people groups. There is no people group in the kingdom of God. There is no gender. It's mankind. Everyone. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you identify as. You're a person. You're in the kingdom. We're all connected. And even if you don't think you're in the kingdom, God is calling out to you today and inviting you into a life that is peculiar, into a life that looks different. All the things, all the messages that we get of the things that we need, we don't need. I heard someone say today, and I've heard it said in different forms, we overestimate the things that we don't have and what they'll do for us. We underestimate what we have. God has put things in your hand right now that are a gift. But if you're like me, and you're like most people, there's things in your hand that you are not using. So use them. There's no condemnation. There's no rush. There's no shame or guilt. I'm awake at 12:45 in the morning because there was something else to say. Something that needed to be said. So I encourage you, walk in His power, walk in His grace, walk in His authority, live a peculiar life. Be that person. Today it was my wife, my counselor, and my friend David Goki, who all created space for me to have a better understanding of who God is and who I am in Him and His kingdom. You are that person for someone's. And if you're like me, the most challenging place to operate in that is in my immediate family, with my wife and sons and daughter, but also my immediate family that I grew up in. Yet I think that is where we're called to start. That is where we're called to fight. That is where we're called to speak truth. And when I name, when I see the things in my children that frustrate me, it's usually just a twisted strength. One of my oldest son has started exerting power and authority over his siblings. His baby sister, he will grab stuff out of her hands that he doesn't think she's meant to have, which often is very helpful. The way he goes about it is, frustrating to her because she just wants to grab stuff. And to his, 3-ish-year-old brother, he's told him to stay in his bedroom in the morning until he starts a podcast or various things. Or he kind of takes the role of a parent. Now that's normal for a 4.5, 5-year-old to start working through the power and authority phases. My job as a father is to name in him the leadership qualities that he's called to and how to go about being a leader, caring for others, being generous and kind, speaking words of life, not words of death, and being a defender of the people. I don't know anybody that doesn't have strengths that have been twisted, abilities and constraints that have been misnamed, or that lies have formed around them. We are called to abolish the lies in people and speak truth about who they are. And the biggest person I struggle with in that is about myself. I am my own worst critic. I am the best. I beat myself up better than anyone does myself. I might have said this previously, but if people spoke to my family the way I speak to myself in my head at times, I would punch him in the face. It's twice as long as I thought. The battle's not against flesh and blood. You are one of David's mighty men. One of the Creator's mighty men. Live a peculiar life. Fight for those in your life. As Lyle Wells says, if you think it twice, you need to tell the person. If you live in the Northwest, there's a lot of things that go unsaid. Can you just quit that bullshit and say what needs to be said? I get that